probably have Carmen back to probably discuss something about the illegal mining issue when we have an open mic. And we're going to get into open mic now. So the Rex Global Fellows who are present in the room, you may volunteer, or if you don't volunteer, I will choose. Whoever wants to come up and share. Amit Saini, you had your chance, so we need to have the other volunteers also come up here, please. Yes, Abhinav, you want to come up?
Thank you, Jerry, for giving me this opportunity, and I would like to thank all the guests also present here, so that I am part of the auspicious company. I am actually a mechanical engineer working with NTPC for the past 8 years, and I would like to tell you briefly about my background. I started teaching children by the age of 15, 16, and it started with a compulsion to earn money for myself, which later turned out to be a passion, and that passion has continued till date, wherein wherever two NTPC projects have been, I have taught children, and I have earned a citation also from NTPC in this regard. Meanwhile, I also sat for civil services examination, qualified it twice, finally couldn't make it due to adverse interview, and thereafter I decided to make a mark for myself for doing something back for the society, and I went in and all. And I'm staying presently at Rajendra Nagar and teaching kids there for civil services, trying to bring out the best of the minds in the country. Thank you.
Aditya? We have Aditya Mubai, who's also a Rex Karma Global Fellow. Aditya is a quiz master, and he plans and aspires to use quizzing as a tool of social reform.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I hope that my being here for 3 days helps in some way in my mission, which for me is to share or enable people to process information and turn it into knowledge. My view is that knowledge is applied information. There is a lot of information all around us, this whole world. What we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we taste are all bits of information. You see something new, your brain stores it away. It's only when you apply that information in a situation or a position that works for you that it actually becomes concrete and usable knowledge. We talk of sharing knowledge. I don't think you can share knowledge per se. You can share information. You can share processes which are also information. But it's only when you use that information that it becomes knowledge. So we're trying to bring about change in some way. I think Jerry really focused me on this path a few months ago when I first interacted with him on Facebook, which is a great way to share information about everyone else. And it got me thinking in a little more focused way about what we're doing. It's always been my mission. I'm an architect by training. I got a bit disillusioned with the whole building industry because it's very difficult for a lot of people to get things done, even if you do everything by the book, unless you pay a bribe. Now, this is not a diatribe against corruption. It's not a diatribe, or it's not an outspoken thing that every sector has its own bits of corruption. And all that corruption comes from within. It's not something that's come to us from the US or the UK. I mean, there was corruption way back in the ancient times. The Arthashastra of Kautilya details out chapters on how to deal with corruption by officials, by the elected officials and public servants, and by the common people. So it was there in 300 BC, it was there in 300 AD, it was there with the Mughals, it was there with the British, and it's still there. So unless there is a mindset change, it's not going to go away. Good and evil exist within all of us. So what I wanted to do with knowledge or information was to make this information accessible to as many people as I could. I quit architecture, I started working in the field of quizzing because that's a passion that I chased for a long time. And all too often, I used to see there was an elitist system at work here. There was an intellectual elite that used to deal in quizzes. All sorts of information, every cerebral activity becomes a very intellectual elite activity. It's like a little cartel. You're not smart, you can't join our club, therefore you will never get the exposure that you need to rise to that supposed cerebral level. We wanted to take it to the masses. We started programs, we started inclusive quizzes with alternately enabled children, with blind children, deaf children, physically handicapped. We're now working on programs with the Delhi government as well as with Mother Dairy to reaffirm the traditional family values within the family units in the city of Delhi, and to take quizzing as a mainstream activity to schools which hitherto have been largely ignored by this field. Whenever you see quizzes, you see all the top schools taking part, winning the honors, winning the laurels. We do 100, 200 quizzes a year. It's almost always the same names that keep popping up all over the country. The government schools, you never hear of them coming anywhere. Why? Because no one goes out to them, no one outreaches to them. And we had a little talk about how the lower income group is not the target audience for a lot of corporate sponsors. It isn't, because their buying capacity or perceived buying capacity doesn't make it worth their while for people to give them such activities. A lot of quizzes are sponsored by companies. They're not interested in the kids who are playing around in the slums. They want to know the children whose parents buy Mercedeses and Audis and therefore will be able to afford their products. So they're willing to spend money on that. So that corporate social responsibility, individual social responsibility, call it what you want. We felt the need to work with people who don't get that opportunity and give them that opportunity. So that's why we've been working in the last 10 years, and we will continue to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya. I think we got some very important and very burning points out there about how, for most sponsors, the children in government school, the children in not really public schools has a different meaning in India, but the children in government schools or the low income groups, they're not important because they're not our consumers. You know? So they will only sponsor, will only invest where we can get consumer benefit or we can get visibility and mileage. That's the mentality of most brand managers in this country.
And we get returns, straight financial returns. That's where the whole market-driven economy comes in. I will put in money if it means that my sales go up, if it means that I get a return on investment. Otherwise, no one is willing to put in money into a cause. Either, as you said earlier, people said that they contribute to random charities because they get that 80cc or 80G benefit. Otherwise, they're not going to do it. They're doing it just so that they can get the tax benefit or demonstrate.
And it's fashionable to speak in the cocktail circuit that I gave money to so-and-so organization. I'm saying the word value. So anyway, so that's Aditya Mumbai, brilliant thought process. I'm happy that somewhere it's again kind of been sparked from the Right Every Wrong movement, and I'm sure it will go a long way, because I think if you can bring in the children from the low income group into the mainstream, there's a lot of intelligence and wisdom out there. Thank you. Any questions for Aditya?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Seema? Please stand up and use the microphone.
Were you able to finally get these government school children to participate in mainstream society quizzes?
Ma'am, we've had a couple of shows that we've done. There's an NGO or an organization, a publishing house called Katha, for which we've done a few shows where we had mainstream the public school kids as well as children from government schools and underprivileged schools coming in. And while they didn't win the quiz, they were very happy, they took part and they stood up there and competed against kids from these upper middle class or higher class educational backgrounds and confidently faced them off. They were a bit hesitant to begin with. The common conception is that quizzing is a very English elite-based activity. It's not. We made the question papers bilingual. We made sure that the kids who weren't fluent in English were able to answer in Hindi because that is a language that they were more comfortable with. At the end of the day, they beat out a lot of other schools who are so-called in the forefront of education in Delhi. And we've had that. Now we're working on this program with Delhi government. I hope it fructifies. Early next year, we're planning to launch it. Quizzes in every government school in Delhi, so that they can come up to the same level. You know, everyone talks about a level playing field. We always make sure that there are enough potholes into which people can fall down.
Good, good. Then it means that it's making headway.
Yes, it will make headway. It
Yeah.
just needs a little perseverance. You need to fill up those potholes.
Thank you so much, Hema. Thank you, Aditya. Any other questions? We'll take one more question.
I don't see
No
any.
questions. A big hand for Aditya, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya. We can have one more ex-Karmalveer Global Fellow come and present his thought process. Yes, Darpan? So Darpan's from the advertising creative industry. One of those brand managers who does not see people in the low income groups. Yeah. So the whole idea of including him in the fellowship so that he starts including them in his brand campaigns.
I think, thanks a lot, Jerry. I worked with him while I was in Proximity BBDO, and I may not have a great stint there or a time, but certainly I met a very nice man. So, Jerry, thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity. It's one of those moments when you always know that there are going to be a lot of people who have the similar kind of a wavelength. So I'm very glad that all of us have one burning passion, which is that some of us who are working and some of us like you who have actually crossed over to the other side, that the difference between us and you is that we're just waiting for that one final, push that will come from anywhere. I have 4 ideas which are working parallelly, but one of the 2 are absolutely on the forefront. One is one I am absolutely passionate about working with children. So one of my, somebody asked me, so are you trying to work with underprivileged children? I said no, neither underprivileged, unprivileged or privileged. So they're going to be children as if at the core is what I'm trying to work on. So I'm into music, I'm into theatre, and I'm into public speaking. So I want to take all these so-called verticals, and put them all together for the development of children. So I have been very fortunate enough to meet people like Ravi Gulati, I'm going to name him. He's in Manzil. Then I have met someone called Manish Jain in Udaipur, called Shakshanta, who are talking about a differently, absolutely different way of education per se. So here I'm talking about where children will, it's like each one teach one. So you get to give them a space. It's still a nebulous idea. I'm still working on it, and I have a friend who's sitting here, and there are a couple of other people. So it's still very nebulous, where they get a space of their own, and they kind of learn from each other. And there are people from all walks of life. Maybe some of you actually can join me as well when it becomes a little more concrete, to enable them to learn certain things which they never learn in school. Because it's always about either a grade or a percentage, and never get this time and space where the people of, like for example, a government school and a private school student will never be friends. If you have ever seen, if you have come from a convent like I, from a missionary school, I will not have friends in a government school. So this kind of a privileged or underprivileged kind of labelization which has happened, I want to break, because children at the end of the day are just children. I absolutely think that is one thing which is a critical. Second is, I think in terms of, for me, this is just a very recent, I've been very passionate about it, is something which is called Organ Retrieval Body Organization. It's a part of AIMS. There are a lot of people who are not aware that even after their death, they're useful. Yes. Even after their death, they're useful. You can actually donate your body. So if you guys are really interested, you can, I want to take up this movement also, maybe online first. You can give your bodies to this orbo.org where you can actually register and give your bodies. I'm going to donate mine. There are a lot of people who are not aware of that, a lot of students who actually work, and how do they get the skill set of knowing about that what all need to be done in terms of surgery, right? They work on carcasses. A lot of organs are actually, there is a lot of, limitations, because there are a lot of organ are not available easily, because people are not aware that actually they can donate the body. I know there are substantial religious belief to hold. For example, in Hinduism, if I am not mistaken, correct me if I am wrong, if you're not cremated, your Panch Tattva and all those theories comes into play. I have a lot of argument at my home as well, and it stopped there because I decided what I have to do. Third is about the whole ideal spirituality I want to, this is a small project again, which is largely relates to Buddhism. So I have really gained a lot myself in that sphere of light, and I was talking to you as well for that matter, that I've been very fortunate to get the teachings by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And there were a lot of learnings I want to take on that. Last, quizzing comes very close to my heart, but the last but not the least, somewhere down the line, I think Indians have forgotten to debate, to argue. And me and one of my batchmates from Symbiosis, we are planning to start up something called Debating Society of India, where you get people to come and debate. So they're going to be a panel debate. Very interesting, there's a monk debate which happens in London. So we want to formulate some of you guys, and actually you can check that. This is going to be one of its kind of India if it happens. And I would be very happy and fortunate if you guys some of you want me to contact. That one, similarly on that, we want to have a forum where people can debate on topics which are very close to their heart. And you will have parliamentary or to and fro. That is something which I'm working on. I know 4 different projects, but hopefully even if 1 or 2 takes off, I'll be happy when I arrive out there. Thanks.
Thank you, Dharma. So I see a lot of synergies with a lot of fellows that are
Actually,
here, so I think it would be a good start. And you must know that our chief patron, Sri Vasant Sate, donated his entire body to science. Yes, thank you so much. Okay, any questions for Dharma? Sorry, Dharma, you have to wait. Any questions for Dharma? Yes, Harun. Please take the microphone, stand up, Harun.
Hi, my name is Arun James. Just mentioned this. I will not put a question which will start a debate over here. So I will simply just ask you, just mention one particular point. A government school children or a child or a boy, whatever, or a private school, let's say any public school, they can't be friends. So I would not ask you a reason or whatever. Is there a way out where we can narrow that gap?
Yeah, I mean, I think it came out very harshly. But I'll tell you honestly, the way some of us, like for example, quizzing, I absolutely agree with you, and debating is even a one level higher, because you're all alone on the stage, and you're speaking, you need a tremendous amount of confidence, knowledge, and as well a lot of backup to come and speak for the motion or against the motion, and unless you have built that confidence, you'll never do that. The reason why it does not happen, so first and foremost we need to accept that there is this disparity which certainly, I think families also tell them that you should not meet that guy because he's from such a background, such a school, XYZ, right? How do you break that? When they are coming together and they play, for example, I remember sports was a great leveler, which is absolutely not happening today. So you have people from children from all walks of life coming together and playing a game of cricket. Sports is absolutely today has gone down the array. Everybody's playing a PlayStation and Xbox, or maybe Max to Max. Actually, they're going to tuitions, or maybe playing with their Android devices. So I think one of the things which I want to do is take these activities, because I will not able to create sports fields for them, unfortunately. So what I can do is maybe theatre, music, and think activities where people, students from all walks of life can come together and do something together. They can create something. And the best part is, what I like about this concept which I'm talking about, that children have the uncanny ability to teach. I have learned a lot. If you ever notice, I think all of the kids today are very sharp, very smart, and they are absolutely, they are mini encyclopedias, because they see so much, they absorb so much, so they have the capability to teach. So when a student, maybe he's studying in a government school, but he can equally teach something to the students who are studying in a XYZ private or missionary school. So can they come together? There will be collaborative space. I think one of the things, the biggest argument will be why they will come together. Why they will come together is something which I think I'm striving very hard with friends, that what would be the reason. So I think these kind of activities, what I'm saying, will draw them to come, and we have people who are actually enablers. So I know people who are very good in theatre, they're professional, some of them are doing it part-time, some of them are musicians, they're willing to give their time, and that's how hopefully it will shape out.
Yes, and just to add to that, I think there is the need and time has come for an inclusive society. I mean, with all the right to education happening, if you go to some public schools, it's appalling that they actually have a separate kind of a section which they've created for the kids who come in through right to education. They're not being mainstream, they're not being included, and that's the farce of society, right?
We need to have more platform for both the community of this particular system to come together and participate in an equal level. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
And rightly you mentioned that few activities such as what you're doing, and you just mentioned very specifically sports as one particular platform where people from each background comes together and play in a very competitive way. I guess this is all one area where we can look at it apart from the other issues, where I guess we can just narrow up the gap and bring these people together. And where you mentioned that these kids have ability to teach and also to learn, so there is a way out where.
And absolutely, it is proven.
Yeah,
It's proven. It's absolutely proven. I think you should check out this guy called Ken Robinson, whose video on education. You can check out even this gentleman. If you ever find time on the Shikshanta, who's very close. I mean, I think the way they're talking about, for example, theatre of absurd. Theatre of absurd. In theatre as a medium to educate and teach. There's so much work happening. It is not like we'll be one of the pioneers. There is so much work which is happening we are just not aware of. And believe me or not, if today we don't do something about children, because they are going to be the future, you have to do something about them right now, because I feel passionate about children. I go along with them like hand in glove, and I think there will be a lot of people who will come and impart their skills, and I'm very excited about it for sure.
Thank you, Darpan. I think I echo his thought, because if we do not harness that energy, especially in the so-called low-income group children, then that lack of harnessing the energy could lead to a lot of anarchy. We are sitting on a bomb over here, time bomb. Yes, we take just one more question, Darpan, I think. Yeah, one more question.
I'll regret if I cannot act right now, because you're talking about a platform for debate. So can you also incorporate the discrimination case? Because we need really to know the diversity of India. I just give you one example. When I was taking my friend around in this Kutub area, one very reputed school from Bombay, they have come for sightseeing. And then one schoolgirl was sitting inside the bus, and then I was just coming to the car parking to take out my car, and then she looked at me and she said, "Chinky, chinky," and all, just making fun of me. So I think since you are now with the kids and our future lies in the hands of the younger generation, with passion, I work for the Northeast community. I'm also a founder member of Northeast Support Center and Helpline. I intervene whenever there is any sexual harassment, physical assault. So I put this to the concerned authority. I have been having meetings with some of the people here in Delhi, with the police commissioner, with the CM of Delhi. So, this is a very serious issue. So I think it is in our hand. We have to work together. It's not about feeling insecure or just to asking for pity, but what we need is that we come together for a cause. And I think that will be a good idea if we can incorporate in the debate for the younger generation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That exactly is the whole concept of the Rex Fellowships. And you have Harun over there who uses the medium of soccer, you have Aditya over there who uses the medium of quizzing, and you have Darpan who wants to use the medium of debating. And I think that's brilliant, because voices of dissent are not seen in this country. We basically in Goa we call it Gata Boy. Means the buffalo which has the bell around, they keep shaking their head. And mostly see that everybody is agreeing with everything that everybody is saying, because there's no voice of dissent. And it's one of the biggest voices of dissent is Noam Chomsky, who's also on our advisory board. And I think we need more voices of dissent in this country.